Hi there, good morning. You're watching Market Cafe with me, Snehisha, and with me is Shreyansi Singh. And you're watching ET Now. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. This is a show where we'll take you through all the important stories we've been tracking for you in India as well as globally. Post-market hours yesterday, as well as we were fast asleep while we were fast asleep last night. And the second half of the show, we'll take you through whatever stocks are going to be potential buzzers in today's trading session, the ones that you should be watching out for, and also the ones that brokerages are flagging off for us bright and early this morning, and also all the earnings candidates and what to expect from the ones reporting their earnings today. But with that, let's kickstart the show. And Shreyansi, I believe the weather yesterday got really out of hand for us here at Bombay, isn't it?
Absolutely, and out of hand really just sums it up. But let me just take our viewers through what really happened. And after days of sweltering temperatures, Mumbai finally takes a sigh of relief after rains and gusty winds lashed parts of the city. Strong dust storms followed by heavy rain caused mayhem with poles scaffolding and trees uprooted in many areas. The biggest impact was seen in city's Ghatkopar area, where at least 12 people were killed and 60 injured as a giant billboard fell on a fuel station. Now, some people fear trapped underneath the collapsed hoarding, as search and rescue operations are underway still, and rains coupled with gusty winds were witnessed in the suburban regions of Dadar, Kurla, Mahim, while parts of South Mumbai saw drizzles as well. Metro and local services were adversely impacted. Metro services were suspended in the RA and Andheri regions. The local train services on the Central Line were impacted. Trains were also stopped intermittently on the Harbour Line as well. And Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis ordered an audit of all hoardings in the city after the mishap. Listen in to what he had to say as well.
ये बहुत ही दुर्दैवी इस प्रकार की घटना है जिसमें बड़ा होर्डिंग यहाँ पर पेट्रोल पंप पर गिरा और नीचे जो गाड़ियाँ थी वो गाड़ियाँ उसमें ट्रैप हुई और कई लोगों को अभी बाहर निकाला जा चुका है और कुछ डेथ्स भी इसमें हुई है। लोग अभी भी अंदर होने की संभावना है। उस संभावना के चलते बहुत ही केयरफुली रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन चल रहा है। केयरलेसनेस हमको यहाँ पर दिखाई पड़ी तो मुझे लगता है कि उसमें किसी को छोड़ने का कारण नहीं है। इस प्रकार से आम आदमी का जीवन एक प्रकार से उसको धोखे में डालना ये बहुत गलत बात है। तो इसके ऊपर बहुत कड़ी कार्रवाई सरकार की ओर से की जाएगी। माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी ने एक और बात के आदेश दिए हैं कि पूरे मुंबई में जो बड़े होर्डिंग्स है उसका एक प्रकार से ऑडिट कल से बीएमसी शुरू करेगी।
66 कॅज्युअल्टी आहे आणि 4 लोकांचा दुर्दैवाने मृत्यू झालेला आहे आणि साईटवरती आता जी घटना घडलेली आहे तिथं अजून 4 लोकांचा मृत्यू झाल्याचं आम्हाला कळालेलं आहे। तर एकंदर 8 लोकांचा दुर्दैवाने मृत्यू झालेला आहे। अजून 20 ते 30 लोक ट्रॅप आहेत असावेत असा अंदाज आहे, संशय आहे। त्यांना त्या ठिकाणी काढायचं काम चालू आहे आणि त्याचप्रमाणे ह्याच्यापुढं जी काय ॲक्शन घेण्यात येणार आहे ते माननीय मुख्यमंत्र्यांनी ऑलरेडी त्याच्याबद्दल जाहीर केलेल्या आहे, सूचना दिलेल्या आहेत।
Well, that's some very somber news coming in from Ghatkopar, but Times Network Shweta has filed this report from the ground earlier, taking us through what exactly happened and about the weather condition in Mumbai yesterday. Over to you, Shweta.
Dismantling process of this huge billboard is underway. In fact, this is set to be around 100-meter tall metallic, which is like really heavy weight billboard that had fallen due to dust storm, windy speeds and speedy winds. And here you can see the visuals right here. The process is underway alongside the rescue operation. Search and rescue operation is also there. Several agencies have been deployed on ground. We'll connect to one of the eyewitness who stays nearby, who was not exactly present when this happened, but he had helped people. Brian, I was speaking to you off the camera also. Now you see the rescue operation is still underway, but please tell our viewers also what happened in the evening.
So basically there was a illegal 100 feet billboard which was over here, and due to the hailstorm that came and the dust storm I mean basically, and the rain, a lot of vehicles passing by the highway, the Eastern Express Highway, came inside the petrol pump to take shade, and unfortunately the billboard fell on them. So I personally believe that there was almost around 120 people who were standing over there below the petrol pump, and 4 were almost dead and the people had removed them actually basically. The locals were the first one to help the people who was below the petrol pump. Then NDRF team later came actually basically around at 6:30 around that time. And now the way the NDRF team is trying to remove the debris, anyone who is alive down the debris could have been stuck, and if suppose that person is alive, that person could also die maybe because of the
May get hurt. Exactly. It's not just Brian's concern. I'll just tell you, the local people around who here, the police authorities have of course asked them to go away from the vicinity. As Chandan is showing you, they are dismantling this entire heavy metallic billboard. It's so unfortunate that minutes of spells of rain has resulted in several deaths. Several people have lost their lives. Several have been left injured. They are getting treated in the hospital, and what is more shocking is that passing the buck is on, where we see that first BMC claimed that it does not fall under their jurisdiction. They are going to take the case ahead, and they had put the blame to Indian Railways. Well, Indian Railways got back to us stating that they have no role to play on this particular petrol pump, or you say about this particular billboard. Then they said, the railway said that this particular billboard belongs to GRP. Now we are waiting from GRP to listen from them what is exactly happening. But here on ground, what we see, there are two sides, of course. One, people are suffering, and second, the politics which is evolving on this particular case, whether it was legal, illegal, what was exactly happening in this particular billboard.
All right, Shweta, thanks so much for bringing us that report from last night as to what was happening in Ghatkopar. But viewers, with that, let's move on. Let's kickstart the show and talk about the global handover coming in. And let's also take a look at what the US markets were up to yesterday. Stock futures flickered near the flat line last evening as Wall Street braced for the release of key inflation reports. The S&P 500 futures inched down nominally, while Nasdaq futures have slipped almost 0.1%. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures have lost 5 points as of now, not doing much, all trading near the flat line. But in regular trading, the 30-stock Dow slid about 0.2%. The blue chip index posted its first losing session in 9. So that build-up that we did see, the 9-day winning streak from Dow has finally snapped, and Dow has snapped what has been its longest daily winning streak since December last year. The S&P 500 inched lower by almost 0.1%. Very flash moves coming in, not much happening. Nasdaq, however, was the outperformer, rising roughly by 0.3%, as flat as it could be, but with a slight positive bias over there as well. Now, a report from the New York Fed Reserve showed that consumers' expectations for inflation over the short and long term grew in April. The results put pressure on the major averages and weighed on stocks as well. Another market catalyst will emerge today morning, US time, as the first of two key inflation reports will be released. The producer price index will be out today, and economists polled by Dow Jones anticipate that the PPI gained 0.3% from the previous month. Now, the closely watched consumer price index will be out tomorrow, and economists expect that it will rise 0.4% in April on a month-over-month basis, or 3.4% from 12 months earlier. Even with Monday's muted market action, the major averages remain within striking distance of their highs. So, flattish moves coming in from the US markets. But with that, let's also take a look at what European markets are doing. And European markets have closed pretty mixed, because when I see my screen, DAX is down 0.2%. FTSE down 0.2% as well, but the pan-European stock 600 index has closed very flat, but with a very slight positive bias. Less than a point higher is where stock 600 is closed. So very flattish moves coming in from US as well as Europe, but we'll have to see what the impact of this global handover is when it comes to our markets today. But Shreyansi, global markets seem flat, but oil has been doing pretty well, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's very interesting what you're seeing play out with oil prices as well, because oil prices rose as signs of improving demand in top importer China and potential supply disruptions in Canada helped prices bounce back from the previous session's $1 a barrel slide as well. So when you look at price levels, then Brent crude rose about 42 cents or 0.5%, was around the $83 a barrel mark. And when you look at WTI as well, you're looking at a rise coming in of about 0.8%. And WTI was around $78 a barrel. Now, Chinese data at the weekend showed consumer prices rising for a third straight month in April, while producer prices extended declines, signaling improved domestic demand. Now, that of course is a very important factor that the oil market is looking out for. looking at rather, but when you look at what is happening on the supply front, then investors are looking out for potential oil supply disruptions due to wildfires in Western Canada, which the country's government has warned could be catastrophic. And elsewhere then, you also have a series of attacks by Russia and Ukraine on each other's energy infrastructure as well. And that is something that the market is looking at as a factor as well. And speaking of factors, then oil prices have also found support from expectations that the OPEC Plus will be extending supply cuts into the second half of the year. And those kind of expectations have also endured. So that is something that we'll see play out as a longer term trend then for oil markets. And traders also said that they're more cautious about the Middle East as hopes have been dashed for a ceasefire in Gaza. Israel on Sunday pushed back into North Gaza while the death toll in Israel's military operation has passed 35,000. And that's a big death toll coming in, and that also is an important factor that the oil market is looking at. Moving on to gold then, and gold prices dipped on profit taking as investors looked forward to key inflation figures this week for clues on the US interest rate cuts this year. Of course, we'll be talking about the key inflation figures that I just talked about, but then when you look at spot gold levels, it fell nearly 1% to around that $2,337 per ounce, and it had hit its highest level since April 22nd. So those are the kind of moves that you've seen come in for gold. So quite the interesting trade that we've seen play out for oil then.
Absolutely, very good moves coming from oil. But with that, let's also take a look at all the important cues to watch out for in today's trading session. Well, lots of important economic data trickling in today. From India, you have the wholesale price index as a WPI data coming out today. From the US, like we mentioned earlier, you have PPI today as well as CPI tomorrow. And from UK, you have jobless claims as well as unemployment data coming out today. Now, in terms of Q4 numbers, and from the Nifty pack, you have Bharti Airtel coming out with its numbers today. But even when you shift focus from Nifty earnings and take a look at the broader markets, you have a whole host of companies, the likes of Shree Cement, Radico Khaitan, Bajaj Electricals, Idea Forge, Oberoi Realty, Edelweiss Financial, all of these companies and more slated to release their Q4 numbers today. Now, in terms of corporate action, today is the last day to buy shares of Godrej Consumer Products as well as Gravita India to be eligible for their interim dividend. Also, the IIFL Finance rights issue will be closing today, so we'll be keeping a close eye on that stock. Yet another stock to watch out for today will be Andhra Paper, because they will be undertaking a stock split today, and Orion Pro Solutions is where we'll be keeping our eye next, because they will be executing a bonus issue today as well. In terms of other events, PM Modi will be filing his nomination from Varanasi today. And in terms of global cues, Fed Chair Jerome Powell is all slated to speak today. This in the light of the PPI figures that we are going to see today and the CPI numbers expected tomorrow. So very important commentary lies ahead of us today, US time. Of course, the Fed Chair Jerome Powell will be speaking as well, and Japan PPI figures will also be out today. So lots of inflation data to watch out for, Shreyansi, today.
Absolutely. And speaking of the biggest queue then, and we've been talking about it, but let's delve a little deeper and kickstart our coverage this morning with what will be the biggest talking point across markets, the US April CPI print. Now, economists' forecasts indicate that inflation will continue to be stubbornly above the Federal Reserve's target, largely led by higher gas prices and elevated upward pressure from the services sector. Now, consensus forecasts for April see monthly core CPI gains slowing to a 0.3% pace from a 0.4% pace in March, dragging the annual rate down to 3.6% from 3.8%. Now, when you look at the headline rate, that is expected to slip back to 3.4% from 3.5%. Meanwhile, New York Federal Reserve in its latest inflation survey report says that respondents project inflation a year from now at 3.3% from March's 3%, and while inflation 3 years from now is seen moderating to an expected 2.8% rise from the prior month's 2.9% rise as well.
All right, well, lots of numbers to look out for, especially when it comes to that inflation print. But let's shift focus to important commentary coming in from the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, who has indicated that the US could see a significant response from China following potential US tariff actions, adding that it has been made clear to China that they could reconfigure tariffs imposed under Trump to be more strategic, but that any changes would be narrowly targeted. She declined to give any details of expected changes in tariffs tariffs on China, but said that the Biden administration would ensure Chinese officials were informed ahead of any US action. The tariffs reportedly will also target semiconductors, solar equipment, as well as medical supplies. But even as she said that, the overarching message was that the US is not looking to disengage economically with China. However, any changes in tariffs will be targeted and broad-based.
Absolutely, and let's track some words coming in from the Fed. Then Vice Chair Philip Jefferson became the latest central bank official to call for holding interest rates at current levels until inflation shows more signs of cooling. He also added that they continue to look for additional evidence that inflation is going to return to the 2% target. Jefferson also said that he changed his view after hotter inflation data in the first quarter.
Alright, then let's shift focus, and philanthropist Melinda French Gates has resigned as the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation after being part of the organization since 2000. As part of her separation agreement from former husband Bill Gates, Melinda Gates said that she will receive an additional $12.5 billion for her charitable work. French Gates said that she plans to leave and share more about her future charitable plans in the near future. Post-resignation, the organization will change its name to the Gates Foundation, and Bill Gates will become the sole chair.
And a jaw-dropping rally on shares of video game retailer GameStop of almost 75% caused losses approaching the $1 billion mark for short sellers. According to data, with GameStop soaring 74%, short-selling hedge funds suffered a mark-to-market loss of $838 million in the brick-and-mortar video game retailer. The sudden advance in the stock was seemingly triggered by Roaring Kitty, who once encouraged an army of day traders to pile into the gaming stock in 2021, an episode that made Wall Street history. It wasn't just GameStop that rallied. AMC jumped 15%, while when you look at Reddit, that traded 9% higher as well.
Well, let's shift focus and talk about OpenAI, because OpenAI has launched a new AI model and desktop version of ChatGPT, which is GPT-4, along with an updated user interface to expand the use of its chatbot. The company said that users may soon be able to video chat with ChatGPT. Additionally, Amazon-backed Anthropic also announced that it will launch its generative AI assistant Claude in Europe on Tuesday. The software will be available to users through web and an iPhone app.
And on to news back home then. Phase 4 of the general elections have wrapped up across 10 states and union territories as well. 96 constituencies and over 1,700 candidates were in the fray. Overall, voter turnout was 67.2% as Phase 4 of voting concluded. West Bengal had the highest voter turnout of 78%. Among these, it was the first major election in Jammu and Kashmir since the abrogation of Article 370, with voter turnout of 38%. Results will be announced on the 4th of June, and simultaneously assembly elections also concluded for Odisha and Andhra Pradesh as well.
Let's keep it going with the elections then, and take you through the latest, because all eyes will be on Varanasi today as Prime Minister Narendra Modi is all set to file his nominations from Kashi at around 11:30 a.m. Prime Minister Narendra Modi held a 2.5 hours mega roadshow in Varanasi on the eve of filing nomination papers from the Lok Sabha constituency. 12 chief ministers from BJP-ruled states are expected to be present as the PM files for his nomination for a third consecutive term from the Varanasi Lok Sabha seat. Besides, several union ministers, including Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and Home Minister Amit Shah, and presidents of the various NDA allies are also likely to be present at this occasion.
Alright then, lots of cues to watch out for, but for now, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at how the Asian markets are faring.
Hi there, welcome back. Let's take a look at how the Asian markets have opened up this morning, and largely mixed is the word coming in from the Asian markets as of now. Wall Street has closed flat. European markets have also closed rather flat. So let's take a look at what Asia is up to right now. And investors in Asia assessed our inflation numbers that came yesterday, and we'll talk about that in detail in the next segment as well. Let's just focus and talk about what Japan was up to, and data from the Bank of Japan showed that corporate inflation was steady in April compared to a year earlier, but import prices jumped 6.4% year over year last month, most likely due to the sharp fall in the yen that we did see coming. But on the back of that, let's also take a look at what Nikkei is doing. Nikkei rather flat, not doing much, just a 23-point uptick coming in, but nonetheless Nikkei is in the green as of now. Let's just focus, talk about what South Korea is up to, because Kospi was flat when it opened, and as of now holding on to the green but not doing much, right there where it was, as flat as it could be. That's Kospi for you. Let's take a move on and talk about what Australia is up to, because on open the ASX 200 fell 0.3%, continues to be at those levels, down almost 0.3% as of now as we speak as well. And also let's take a look at what Hong Kong was up to, because Hang Seng was at 0.6% higher when it opened, and it's right, that's 0.3% higher, 62-point uptick coming in for Hang Seng. Lastly, let's also take a look at what Shanghai is up to, and Shanghai as flat as possible, 1-point uptick coming in for Shanghai. So largely Asian markets are trading mostly in the green, but very, very flat moves coming in, mimicking or mirroring the moves that we did see coming from Wall Street as well as European markets. But let's talk about what's flashing on top of the screen. That's the Nifty implied open. That's at 22,248. Now, on the spot basis, we closed at 22,104 yesterday after a very subdued trading session. In the last half of the session, we flipped the moves and managed to end in the green. 0.2% higher is where we ended yesterday at 22,104, and the Nifty implied open indicating 22,248. So a solid 140-point uptick is what is penciled for us as of now. But let's also keep into consideration that Wall Street, Europe markets and Asia as of now are trading absolutely flat. So despite this 140-point uptick, we might just have to wait and watch and see as to what happens to our markets.
Absolutely, and wait and watch we will. But then while you wait and watch, we also have a power pack lineup for you on the market. At 9:20, we'd be in conversation with Mahesh Nandurkar, Head of Research and MD at Jefferies, to discuss with him the India call. At 9:40, we'd be talking to Ramesh Kalyanaraman, Executive Director at Kalyan Jewellers, to talk about their earnings. And to decode the earnings of Alembic Pharmaceuticals, we'd also be talking to Shaunak Amin, the MD of the company, at 9:50. And at 10 a.m. then, we'd also be in conversation with Dilip Panjwani, CFO at Bari Renewable Technologies, to talk about their earnings and to decode the earnings of Bank of Baroda as well. At 10:15, we'd be in conversation with Debadatta Chand, MD and CEO of the company. So lots of interesting conversations. Keep an eye on all of those conversations.
Hi there, welcome back. Let's keep it going then. And headline inflation for the month of April came in at 4.83%, a marginal cool off from 4.85% in March this year. Food prices remain elevated, with food inflation at 8.7%, heating up from 8.5% in March, and core CPI, exclusive of food and energy prices, is at 3.2%, seeing no change from the month of March. Now, we spoke with a slew of experts about the inflation print and their take on the potential rate cuts from the MPC, and here's what we got from them. Listen in.
If not at least in the next 4 or 5 months, I think they will have to wait till at least the monsoons are passed. So that's one, how food inflation behaves. This inflation print was also a surprise because, remember, and particularly core inflation seems to be about 3.25%, which is very low, which is sustained at a very low. And this is despite very high increases in the prices of gold and silver, so which is a big surprise. So it seems as if core inflation is coming down significantly.
The CPI number was very much on expected lines. We were expecting around 4.8% or so. And going forward also, we are expecting CPI inflation to remain above 4.5% or so. So broadly for this quarter, I would say we are expecting more than 4.5%, around 4.6, 4.7% inflation.
Alright, then that's the expert view coming in on India's inflation trend. But moving on then and shifting focus to some earnings, restaurant aggregator and food delivery platform Zomato reported a jump in its Q4 net profit, up by 26% on a sequential basis. When you look at revenue as well, that was also up 8% to cross the 3,500 crore rupee mark, and largely in line with estimates when you're looking at revenue as well. So that's the kind of print that we've seen for Zomato. And in fact, their management also talked about how they're not planning to increase Blinkit stores meaningfully. They've laid out the roadmap for expansion in terms of quick commerce. Let's listen in to a slice of what they had to say as well.
The store count increase, like you mentioned, like a lot of our increase is now indexed to the cities which are growing. So Bangalore, Hyderabad, Mumbai, and a few other cities. So the time to break even usually varies depending on whether we are opening a store in an existing location, new location. So we expect that it will not increase meaningfully, the time to break even, but it will be higher than the 2 months that we have put in, and we are already accounting for that in our projections as well. But outside of that, I think what you will see us do more and more is just going into underpenetrated markets in the top 4 cities and opening more stores over there. I think our attempt is to keep reinvesting back into the business to grow as fast as possible, while we want to sort of maintain at least neutrality on the EBITDA side. So that's our strategy. Based on like how our expansion goes in a particular quarter, the numbers might be up and down, but it will not significantly deviate from our stated objective of remaining at least EBITDA neutral, if not positive.
All right, well, let's also go across and understand what brokerages are saying when it comes to Zomato's quarter four performance. Let's start by Bernstein's take on that. They've maintained their outperform rating but have hiked the target price to 230 rupees from 200 rupees per share. They believe that the profitability has improved and Blinkit's performance has surprised positively. It reinforces the conviction on quick commerce and business growth is their priority for the long term, and the long term EBITDA target of 4 to 5% also looks good for Zomato as of now. That's what they're penciling in for Zomato. That is Bernstein's view coming in. Moving on, let's also take a look at what UBS has to say. They've maintained a buy rating with a target at 250 rupees per share. They're saying that Zomato is doubling down on quick commerce and it aims to reach 1,000 stores by the end of FY25. And they believe that adjusted EBITDA margin will, however, hover around 0. So that is UBS's view coming in on Zomato. Let's also take a look at what Jefferies has to say on Zomato's quarter for performance. They've maintained a buy rating but have hiked the target price to 230 rupees from 205 rupees per share. They expect more modest returns in the near term and they believe that the return expectation should be more modest. That's the word coming in from Jefferies. And also we have one more note coming in on Zomato from Avendus Spark. They've downgraded the stock to an add rating from a buy rating. So this is an interesting note to watch out for. They've hiked the target price to 210 rupees from 165 rupees per share. They've reiterated the positive stance led by the company turning cash profitable, and they believe that the current market price factors in most of the catalysts anyway. And they believe that prudent approach of the company while expanding into tier 2 and 3 cities could help in driving synergies going ahead, but they have gone ahead and downgraded the stock to an add rating from a buy rating despite a good set of numbers or rather inline set of numbers coming in from Zomato this time around. So lots of interesting brokerage notes with different takes coming in for Zomato this morning.
Alright, there you have it. So that's the verdict coming in from the brokerages on Zomato. But let's move on then, and UPL will be in focus after it reported a strong fourth quarter result. And when you look at they've also shared that its improving outlook for the overall business is something that they're looking at. Ashesha is standing by with the con call highlights as well as what brokerages is saying. Ashesha?
Well, yes, we have some important commentary that has come in from the management of UPL. First up, let's talk about the business outlook for FY25, where as far as the crop protection business is concerned, that is expected to normalize only in the second half of FY25. Seeds business, meanwhile, is expected to report strong performance in FY25, and management also indicated that the first half of FY25 could be weak on account of higher base of last year. They've also given guidance for FY25 where they're expecting revenue growth of about 4 to 8%. EBITDA, absolute EBITDA is expected to see a growth of more than 50%, and as far as their CFO generation is concerned, that is expected to come in at about 300 to 400 million US dollars, and the management said that they will be utilizing entire CFO for repayment of debt, as a result of which net debt to EBITDA is expected to fall below 2x. We also have some important brokerage notes that have come in this morning. Motilal Oswal, where they are maintaining their neutral stance with a target price of 560. They say that they expect first half of FY25 to remain challenging. Second half of FY25 is expected to witness recovery in overall demand and pricing scenario globally. But considering short-term challenges, cash flow generation and debt repayments continue to be the key monitorables going forward. We also have Jefferies, which is maintaining its buy stance, but they've cut their target price to 610 versus their earlier target price of 635. They say fourth quarter numbers were good, but FY24 deleveraging did not meet their estimates, because of which they remain negative. They expect industry headwinds to persist in FY25. They've also gone ahead and cut their estimates for FY25 and 26. So the outlook is not very positive. FY25 looks bleak, and brokerages too are not very convinced about the outlook going forward for UPL.
Alright, Rajeshna, thanks so much for taking us through that. UPL will be a stock to watch out for in today's trading session as well. But viewers, with that, let's slip into a short breather on this edition of Market Cafe. We'll be right back with more stock-specific news and updates on the other side, so you stay tuned.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, telecom major Bharti Airtel is all set to report its Q4 numbers. So Amit is standing by to take us through what the fine print looks like and what is being penciled in.
Well, on a consolidated basis, if you see sequentially, the numbers are expected to be stable. The revenue and EBITDA is expected to be high by anywhere between 2 to 3 odd %. Margins are expected to come in at around 53%, while the net profit could jump around 34% on a sequential basis. However, the numbers could come in actually a bit below than what the street was expecting, and that is because Airtel Africa, which reported its numbers few days back, reported a weak set of numbers. Airtel Africa accounts for nearly 27% of the consolidated numbers, and the numbers were weak owing to the devaluation in its currency, that is Naira currency. In Q4, if you see, Airtel Africa has reported revenue and EBITDA were down around 17% and 21% on a YY basis, and both the numbers were below the street expectations. However, the India mobile business number, that is expected to report a stable set of numbers. There, if you see, the revenues are expected to be higher by around 2 odd %, and this will be aided on the back of higher subscriber addition and a higher ARPU. Now, ARPUs are expected to increase around 1% on a sequential basis, and this increase in ARPU will be purely on the back of 2G subscribers transitioning to 4G, which translates into higher ARPU for the company. Subscriber base is also expected to be around 34.94 crore as against 34.5 crore that we had seen in the previous quarter. For the other businesses, if you see, the home broadband business is expected to report a stable set of numbers on the back of subscriber addition. Enterprise business also expected to report a healthy set of numbers, while the DTH business numbers could come in a bit weak from Bharti Airtel. Now, apart from earnings, what are the key things to watch out for? Firstly, what is the capex guidance for FY25? What is the expectations of a tariff hike to come in the telecom sector post-election period? How is the market share shifting towards 5G? And what are the key trends that the company is seeing when it comes to customer behaviors? 5G rollout would be important to track from Bharti Airtel earnings.
Alright, Samir, thanks so much for taking us through that. Bharti Airtel will be the one stock to watch out for today, because that's a nifty company that will be reporting its Q4 numbers today. But let's move on and talk about yet another stock that will be in focus today and grabbing all eyeballs today is going to be Shriram Finance, because that has given its nod to sell of its housing finance subsidiary Shriram Housing Finance. The company will sell its entire stake to Warburg Pincus through its affiliate Mango Crest Investment. Now, a little bit more about the deal. This transaction is expected to be completed via 7th of Feb 2025. And let's understand the shareholding of Shriram Housing Finance, pardon me. Shriram Finance holds 83.7% equity stake as of now, and Valiant Capital Management, they hold 16.2% as well. So after this deal goes through, Warburg Pincus will be buying Shriram Housing Finance for a total of 4,630 crores, and out of this, Shriram Finance will be getting 3,909 crore rupees for its housing arm. And as per the deal contours as well, Valiant will also be completely selling its equity stake to Warburg Pincus, and Shriram Housing Finance's MD and CEO Ravi Subramaniam will continue to lead the business going ahead as well. Now, in terms of what the street is saying, what's the large view when it comes to this deal? Analysts are finding this housing finance transaction to be value accretive for Shriram Finance. The deal has been finalized at 4,630 crore rupees, implying a 2.4 times forward price to book for an affordable housing company with an ROE of 15%. When you compare it with peers, the average FY26 estimate price to book for Shriram Housing Finance comes at almost 2 times with an estimated ROE at 15%. So very attractive deal coming in for Shriram Finance as well by selling off Shriram Housing Finance to Warburg Pincus. So largely, this is the summary of the entire deal, and well, Shriram Finance is going to be one stock to watch out for in today's trading session. But let's also take a look at what brokerages have to say on this. And we have a note coming in from CLSA where they've maintained an outperform rating, target at 2,800 rupees per share, and they believe that there are no surprises when it comes to this stake sale, and because they believe that these rumors had made the round earlier as well, and they're absolutely right. We have been hearing some buzz about this stake sale coming in for quite some time now, and Warburg has valued this deal lower than peers at 2.4 times price to book and 21 times price to earnings. This is FY26 basis, of course. This is what CLSA has to say. Moving on, we also have a note from Kotak Securities coming in. They've maintained a buy rating target at 3,000 rupees per share. They believe that the stake sale augments the book value of Shriram Finance by 3 to 4%, and valuation is marginally higher than that 44 rupees that was ascribed in the SOTP given earlier, and the core business is on track with strong asset quality. So that's, well, largely the word coming in on this entire deal of Shriram Housing Finance that is going to play out in the near future.
Well, absolutely, and a host of stocks like Bharti Airtel, UPL as well as Shriram Finance are going to be in focus in today's trading session. But with that, we're timed out on this edition of Market Cafe on ET Now. From me, Shreyansi Singh, Snehisha, as well as the entire team that put this show together, thank you so much for tuning in. You don't go anywhere because the market takes all of the action forward.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.